This is part 6 in the multiplayer first-person shooter series, and in this episode we will be going over prone and prone turn in place. So our character will be able to go to prone and move around, and also turn in place when not moving. The first thing I'm going to do is import the animations here. So if I open up my project location, go to content, animations, and then I'll leave a link to these animations. Just copy them over. Right, so we have a crouch to prone, prone to crouch, prone to stand, and stand to prone. We have a prone idle and a prone forward. I'm not gonna put the backwards in here because it's just prone forward duplicated, and we call it prone backwards. And then if you open it up, it's just the prone forward animation, but we will, in the asset details, set it to -1, and that will make it play in reverse. So if you have better prone animations, you can use those, but I'm going to use what's free in the marketplace. Next thing we need to do is make a blend space, and what I'm going to do for that is just duplicate one that we already have. So crouching, let's duplicate the crouching. So if I could just drag it over to another folder, and you can hit copy, and we'll rename this one to prone. I'm going to go inside it, and the speed I am going to set to 50, so 0 to 50. That'll be our maximum prone speed, and everything else can be left the same here, and we just want to delete everything. So if you're making one from scratch, it'll be empty already, but if you're duplicating the crouch one from last episode, then we just delete these and we'll put the prone ones in. So what I'm going to do is just search prone in the search bar, and we've got prone idle. I'm going to throw across the bottom on every column here. And then center is going to be, forward and no direction, so we'll do prone forward. And then the ends are backwards on both sides. And then let's say right is forward, and we'll just use these for right. So if you have better animations, you would put your forward here, forward right, back right, and then backwards. And then we're just going to use the backwards for going left. So forward left, left, and back left. If you have better animations, that's the way you would set them up. I'm going to save this. And again, we're going to need another blend space, and this one's going to be a blend space 1D for the turn in place. And I'm going to once again just duplicate the one for crouching, so just copy over here, and I'm going to call it prone turn in place. Just rename it to prone. And we can delete the crouch stuff here. I'm going to get prone idle for center. And let's just do forward to the right and backwards to the left. So for rotating our mouse to the left, we'll play backwards. For rotating to the right, we'll play forward. Right? If you have prone turn in place animations, feel free to use those as well. This is just setting it up to use whatever animations you'd like. Right, so we are done here. Make sure to save. We can close this, and now we need to navigate to where our character is. So open up third person character. And also, let's open up our animation blueprint for our player. So we're going to be doing work in both of these. Let's start with going into our character and let's make a new Boolean variable. I'm going to duplicate the is crouching and call it is prone. And compile that, and then we need to go into our project settings, and if it's not up here, you just go to the edit tab and project settings are here. Down to the input, we need to add a new input mapping, so hit the plus key. I'm going to call it prone. I'm going to set it to the Z key. Right. I'm going to save all, and back into the character. Let's find some space and just search for that prone event. And then let's make 2 custom events, one for server, one for client. So let's call this client prone. And we will multicast this one. And then we'll make one more for the server. So we'll call it server prone. And make sure it gets ran through the server. Right. So let's get a branch, and then let's set. We're gonna set this twice, one to true, one to false. I'm just gonna pull one of them into this to get the name. You can plug this into the branch. So it's going to check if the variable that gets inputted into the client is true or false. If true, we're going to set it. If false, we're going to set it false. And we can call the client prone from the server and plug this in here. So whatever input gets put into the server, it'll get called to the client, and so on. The next is pretty similar to the crouch, except for we don't have the crouch and uncrouch. Prone's not default in Unreal Engine, so what we're going to do first is grab our character movement component, and we will set max walk speed. So let's set max walk speed and duplicate it. Make sure we plug into the target. Right, one will be for is prone, one will be for not prone. I'm going to set it to our walk speed. So when we're not prone, we can go back to our walk speed, which is 400. And prone, I'm going to set it to 50, like we did in the prone. So our max speed here should be 50, but it is not. So let's set that to 50. I swear I did. Right. I guess I didn't, you know. But go back over here. And we will also get the player controller, so get player controller. And we're going to ignore movement input, similar to what we did with the crouch and the on landing. So set ignore move input and get this twice. Should I plug in the target? And on prone or to prone, we will ignore, and when we unprone, we will ignore, and then we can get a delay. So drop a delay and duplicate it, and the time for going to prone, I'm just going to set a 1 second delay for now. You can play with this number to make it look good for your animation. And then we are going to basically just copy these over and stop ignoring move input. And that is our prone done in the character. So we need to go to our animation blueprint and find our state machine for locomotion. Everything else will be done in here. So let's get that set up. I'm going to start by renaming these crouch transitions and just stick to a pattern. So we're going to say stand to crouch, just so we know what we're looking for later. And this one here, actually no, this is crouch to stand. And this one here is stand the crouch. Alright, so first let's get our locomotion, our standing, to prone. So let's add a state and let's call it prone movement. And inside of here we will plug in our prone animation blend space, which is looking for direction and speed. So we're just gonna get those out here and plug them in. Right. And then we need two more states, one for stand the prone and another for prone to stand. So stand to prone, we can go from locomotion to prone and from turn in place to prone. So I'll get both of those plugged in there. We'll edit the rules later. And let's make one more state and call it prone to stand. Right, and these can go into turn in place or locomotion. Right, so I'm gonna just move these over here. And so stand to prone can go to prone movement, and prone movement can go to prone to stand. Before we get any further, let's get the rules for this setup. Alright, so I'm gonna compile, and we just need to set up the transition rules. So in the event graph, we need to get a reference to our character and search for our prone. So get is prone, and we can promote this to a variable and set it if it's valid. So come up here, add a pen, make sure it's plugged in, and this is our set prone. Alright, so back to the locomotion, we can go from turn in place and locomotion to prone if we're prone. So I'm just going to copy this, come in here, and paste it in that. So the rules for both locomotion and turn in place to the stand and prone if prone is true. So for the transition rule here, we need a time remaining ratio of the previous animation. So we need to make sure we get that plugged in. So I'm just going to type in prone, and it's going to be stand to prone. And then the rule for this is just going to get the time remaining ratio of stand to prone here. And we're going to see if it's less than 0.2 or whatever number you find to look good for your animation. So whatever you want your blend out times to be, how much time you want to be left before it blends from this to this, and that's what you would put here. And for the prone movement to prone stand, we want to get our prone and see if we are not prone. So if we are not prone, and we also want to get an and boolean, and we can go from prone to standing if we are not crouching as well. So I'm just going to duplicate this not boolean. So if we are not prone and not crouching, we can move from prone to stand. So let's get the prone to stand in here and just plug it in. Right, and for the prone to stand, prone to stand, we want to not loop the animation. And same for stand to prone, just select it and uncheck loop animation. Alright, so back to locomotion, we have prone to stand to turn in place and prone to stand to locomotion. Alright, so for these here, I'm going to do something similar. So get the time remaining of the last animation, so time remaining ratio of prone to stand. See if it's less than 0.2. So the animation is almost over. We can go back to locomotion, and I think that's all we need. I don't think we need to go to turn in place, because locomotion is basically our idle, and if we're not moving here, that's what allows us to transition turn in place. So we should only have to go back to locomotion from prone to stand. Before we test this, let's also get the turn in place. So add state, and we'll call it prone turn in place. And we can get to and from. And the turn in place rule for the to turn in place is going to be the same as both of the other turn in places. So to turn in place, check if speed is equal to 0, and the look left and right of our head rotation is not equal to 0. So get that plugged in, and we're going to do the same for the transition back, and just speed is greater. So if speed is greater than 0.1, if we are moving, we're not going to turn in place anymore. So just copy that and paste it in here and plug it in. And we actually need to tell our input prone to run the server prone, if I could spell. So call server prone, and we will how are we going to do this? So that's the wrong one. What we'll do is get a branch in here, and we'll check if we're prone here. And if we are prone, we can get both of these. So we're going to set true and false here. If we are prone, we're going to set prone to be false. If we're not prone, we will set it to true. And let's duplicate the server prone and just plug both of those in. So plug in the execution pins and the variable itself. So it'll tell if it's true or false. So when we're not moving, we don't have an animation, and that is because we never set the prone turn in place. And the way we set up the other turn in place is just get our turn rate divided by 2. So I'm going to copy this, go in here and paste it in, and compile. So now if we are prone and not moving, we should play our turn in place animation if we turn, and just be idle if we're not turning. Right? And if we press it again, it did not stand up. So let's see what we did wrong here. Back into the animation blueprint, our prone turn in place, we need to be able to prone to stand from there as well. So where did it go? Strange. So I'm not sure what that was about, but I think it has resolved itself. So from prone turn in place, we also need to go to prone to stand. So if your thing bugs out, you can just drop it and hit compile, and you'll see an error pop up. It might not have the little thing to be able to click into it, but if you click on it from here and then back out and compile, that's what fixed it for me. I don't know. I can't explain that one. But we need to grab the same, so I'm just going to copy these and plug them in there. So now if we go prone, we should be able to stand back up. And if we're moving, we should be able to go prone. If we're moving, we should be able to stand back up. But we aren't moving now, so let's figure that one out. Alright, so the issue with not like playing the animation while moving and prone was the blend space was resetting. So before adding in the animations for the prone movement, you need to set the speed value to 50 before placing them. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that. I'm gonna save this and let's just double check and should be able to prone. Oh, okay. Alright, we're prone and we are moving now. So move backwards just plays it in reverse. Moving left is, I think, the reverse. Moving right is the forward. Right, and standing back up. Right, all that's working fine. So what we need to do now is get it set up to where we can prone from crouch and go to crouch from prone. Back into our animation blueprint, we will we're gonna need 2 more states. So right click and add state, and we will call this one prone to crouch. And the other one will be crouch to prone. Alright, so let's handle the crouch to prone first. So we need to come off of our crouch locomotion and our crouch turn in place here. So I'm just going to pull this off a little bit. And from crouch turn in place down to our crouch to prone and our crouch movement to crouch to prone. And we got that bug again, I think. So I'm just going to hit compile. Okay, so crouch turn in place to crouch to prone. So that's going to be this one. If we go into here, we just want to again just check if we're prone, and then the other one do the same. So if we compile these, we have a result that's visible but ignored, and that's just saying that we don't have the animation. So crouch to prone, let's go inside of here and once again search for or not search for prone, and we're gonna go, which one we're in, crouch to prone. So we're gonna look for crouch to prone, plug them in, make sure it's not looping, and then let's go to the other one, and that's prone to crouch. So plug it in and also make sure it's not looping. Alright, so back to our locomotion, compile, and you see they're back. So it's just engine bug, I'm assuming. Right, from our crouch to prone here, we can go to our prone movement. And again, we are bugged. So what we need to do is just compile and click on it from here. So we're going to get the time remaining ratio and check if it's less than 0.2. Well, if you have different animations, you can play with this number on the blend time. So plug it in. If it's less than that remaining, we can transition. And now let's get to our prone to crouch. So we've already plugged it in. So let's go from prone locomotion and turn in place. So the rules for those are going to be very similar to, which one was it? This one here. So I'm just going to copy this. We're just not going to use the not boolean. So just go in here and paste it in, and we'll delete that, and we can go from prone to prone the crouch if we're no longer proning and we are crouching. So I'm going to copy this because it's going to be the same rule for the other. Right, so those errors gone. We need one more, and that's going to be prone to crouch up to crouch movement. And this one here, I compile, save, go back, and there we go. So I'm just going to take automatic rule on it and compile. So now we need to check no, I think that should work. So if we are crouching and go prone, and if we are prone we can stand up. If we're standing and go prone, we can go prone. And the prone to crouch, handle that by doing a check if prone. So I'm just going to copy this one, and let's go up to our input for when we crouch. I'm just going to make some room here and paste the branch in for the prone. So I guess the way I'm going to do this is get the not boolean. So for not prone, we can continue to the crouching, but if we are prone, we want to, I'm going to copy this, so we're going to set prone false and then call server prone. So I'm just going to paste this down here and put the false into that, and so it's checking if we're not prone. So if it's false, that means we are prone. So when we press the crouch button, we are going to prone, or set prone to false. We're going to unprone, basically. So let's test it out, make sure it works. So from standing, press prone, and press prone, and from crouching, press prone, and if I press crouch from prone, I should go to crouch. Alright, all that seems to be working. But if you noticed, we can press the walk or sprint button and be able to fly around while prone. So let's take care of that right quick. And what I'm going to do that is the way I check for sprint speed here, I think I'm going to copy most of this code here, and we might remove this here and get it off of our event tick right quick. Where did we put that? So we're checking sprint speed on tick. I think what I'm going to do is just put the code on our movement, if I can find it. So it's going to be movement input for gamepad and mouse. So move forward and backwards, and move left, right. I am going to just pull this to the side to make room. Make this a little bit bigger. Alright, so this one here, let's, did I copy that? Alright, so I'm actually going to paste that twice, but we're going to do a couple more branches. So let's get a branch here and replace it with is prone. so duplicate this, and we will come off the false here. So if we are prone, we don't want to do anything because we are setting our speed when we're prone. So after that, let's check if the walk key is down. So first we check if we're prone, then we check if the walk key is down, and if that is true, we're going to just call server walk and check it true. And then if it's false, we're going to run that into the code we copied out of our check sprint speed. Right, so just double check that. We need to take this here, so the move left and right and the forward and back. So this is our forward and backwards. Let's just take this axis here and plug it into here instead of this one. And now the left and right is going to be this, so get this axis value and plug it into where the left and right is, so we can delete this one. And I think I'm actually just going to delete this and copy this whole code here. If sprint key is not down, we also want to call server sprint to be false, so just leave it as it is. And then what we do for here is the same here. So the first one, we need to check this value and just see if it's not equal to 0. And the next one is going to check if it's not equal to 1 on the forward and backwards axis. So I know it's a bit messy, but hopefully you're following along alright. Here we go. So if either of these are true, we're disabling sprint just like we do in the sprint check speed. That should work. Sprint key down. Let's duplicate this up here. Now let's go to our tick and just remove this. We don't need this on here anymore. Alright, so let's test it. We can sprint, but if we press other directions while holding sprint, it won't sprint, only forward. Alright, if we crouch, we cannot sprint or slow down, and prone, that is the question. Alright, so prone. To fix that issue, we're just going to find our sprint and walk, and we will, what we're looking for here, let's get a branch. I'm just going to copy this one here, and I guess let's make some room because we're going to need it. Alright, so pull off the input event, and I'm going to duplicate this twice, so when we press it, we're going to check if we're not prone, because if we are prone, we don't want to do anything. When we're released, do the same. And I'm going to copy this so I get both of them, and do the same for walking. So just paste it up here on pressed and released, and just come off to false. And that way, if we are prone, it doesn't change our speed. And you can organize this to your liking. And so I'm going to compile this and test it one more time. So if I go prone, I should stay at speed 50. So if I press sprint and let go, we don't change speed. If I press walk and let go, we don't change speed. Alright, I think that is done for the prone system. If you had any troubles following along, just drop a question in the comment section or join the Discord and hit me up there. Appreciate you watching. Until next time.